Hey guys, we're back at it again with another action figure review. This time's for Game Dimensions Tekken 8 Jin. And while I haven't exactly played this game for a very long time, I mean Tekken in general, I have a strong familiarity over the franchise or the IP because back in the day, like 1999, 2000, 2001, my brother and I used to play this game a whole lot. You know, it's one of the best fighting games at the time being, and I guess that still stands true to this day, it being at its 8th installment now. First of all, I'm glad they didn't go with this design. I mean, it's cool and all, but I think it's just overly designed. I prefer Jin with his body, upper body exposed, because I think it's just iconic. One of the more defining physical attributions of the character. It's just kind of the way it's always been, and that they covered him with a lot of layers is quite something to get used to. But me and Pat Jin, I've actually already removed the tape. What else I like about doing it in public places like McDonald's is there is good lighting. You've got this nice backdrop. There is an extra layer of plastic to get in the way of fun. There we go. Oh shit. Sensors just fell down. Got this round tube thing. I don't know if I'm gonna use this, but it's a nice touch. Could have replaced this with something else, something more functional, but whatever. There's Jin. Pre-post in the packaging. Also got his red lightning punchy effect. Maybe there's a specific name for this. You guys, you can just look it up later, but right now I'm doing this live. I mean, as far as recording goes. Style post hands, kind of clenchy hands. Let's look at the details. Very nice sculpt, and color separation between the plastics look really good. Those rivets or those gemstones, they look really nice. Even the inside is sculpted really well. There's this round thingy where you peg into the stand, so that I guess this is where you place the round 2 effect, and then Jin goes there, and then there's another action figure here, second action figure, or you can get creative and mix it up with other lines like JADA Toy Street Fighter or Lightning Collection or Mafex figures. First impressions, that looks really good. It's got a lot of paint details on the pants, a lot of sculpted details, especially on the gauntlets. I mean, they could have been painted better because it's just molded plastic with no paint. It's actually the same red here at the fist and this like dragon shaped thingy on the gauntlet. But this is definitely a different red. It's leaning closer to becoming an orange. So the straps on his arms and this, what do you call this again? It works like a belt, but it's more like a strap, a waist strap. Same color as the red on the armbands. The only issue I really have as far as aesthetics go would be the flesh tone. Could have added some shading to bring it to life, but it's actually okay. Here's how I see it. While it is mentioned in the box that it's Jin from Tekken 8, I don't mind it looking this way because it's so reminiscent to how he looked like, or how I remembered him from Tekken 2. And the graphics weren't exactly the best during those times, during that era. But there is a burst of nostalgia, surge of nostalgia that I'm getting from this figure. And that is one of the best things that you can ask for. Best things to experience when you're collecting these figures, because I personally love collecting action figures because of the nostalgia I can associate with it, nostalgia I'm getting from it. Another gripe I have in terms of the aesthetic would be these exposed joints. I think they could have handled that a little better. I mean, you can hide it once you finagle the joints, like you move the shoulders around just like that. But yeah, that was one of the first few things that I noticed without even taking them out of the box. The details on the pants look really nice, the painted details. they really put a lot of work in there. That is nice. I think that a lot of the budget for producing this figure went into the painting painting the pants. Also, it's got a nice material. You have to be extra careful when handling this because it's a thin plastic material to somewhat function as a cloth. You have to handle it very carefully, very meticulously, so that you won't end up tearing the material and damaging the paint. But it can't be avoided, but we want to prolong the quality for figures for as long as possible because, again, even if we can consider this as a budget action figure, relatively speaking, they still come at a price. They don't really come in cheap. Affordable doesn't equate to being cheap, guys. That's what you need to remember. I'm sorry if I keep moving them around. It's just pretty nice to handle. Yeah, it is. It has the fun factor for sure. But one of the things that I don't like is this ab cut. I wish they implemented like the ball hinges here and here. Well, at the bottom, it's like there's a ball hinge, but the cut, there's a very sharp cut to the waist. It's a very sharp cut. So when you lean him forward, when you bend him backward, is what I'm saying, there is some gappage on there. And at least when you utilize the ab cut, it doesn't really look terrible, like he's pregnant or something. But you can definitely see that the molds are being separated when you use the ab cut. So yeah, as far as the quality of this figure goes, the only thing you really need to be cautious about is handling the pants, because while they are nice, they are neat, they are well painted, they are also fragile. So be careful with that. This back has a very nice sculpt. You can see the striations. He really is built like a fighter. And you've got the acorn-shaped hair, which Jin manages to make it look really cool. I mean, I think he's the only character I've seen who can really rock that kind of hairstyle. Okay, let's move on to articulation. We've got a joint below the neck and a joint under the head. So yeah, it's an upper and lower joint, upper and lower neck joints. So that's nice. And see how it functions. If I can independently use them, well, there's a bit of tilt on the head. I'm trying to apply some pressure on the neck so that it doesn't move while I move the head. And I'm doing a terrible job displaying it. You know what, let me just utilize both joints together. Okay, so I guess the best way to handle this is you just move it all the way to the side. So once the neck bumps on the trap, you can see how far the head can go just by utilizing the upper neck joint. So that's pretty good. It's pretty good for nuanced posing. It's not gonna look like he's got a stiff neck for sure. Going down, it's really nice going down. Good range going down. Going up, I'd say that's good enough. You don't need him to go higher, look higher. So what I like is that they use like a butterfly setup. Except that, yeah, I guess you could have done the same thing that McFarlane does, where they add an extra piece of plastic there, round plastic, to, kind of hide the joints. So it's like a cap or whatever. So there is a dumbbell joint. It connects the shoulders to the upper body, and you can move it up, you can move it down. You can move it forward a little bit, not really a lot, but I guess it will help somehow. If you want to make him look like he's trying to flex his muscles, you can move it forward. You want to make him look wider, you can move it back, or move his shoulders up. See? Semi-running pose. That is great. It would be nice if they added like a joint here so that you can move it around left, right, but it's not necessary for sure. Okay, going out to the side, it's pretty well. You can do a Y pose. That is a good range. Goes all the way around for sure. Elbow, I'd say they could have given that a better range, given that it's a double jointed setup, but it will do. I guess the plastic material here on the gauntlet just kind of bumps onto his rather beefy bicep. What I would always suggest is when it's a double jointed setup on the elbow, you try to move it, you try to use I guess this is the upper joint first, and then when it hits the limit, that's when you use the lower joint, so you can really test how far it goes. Okay, for the hand, the fist, yeah, it's still a hand. It has a ball joint, so you can move it around whichever way you want. For the abs, we've seen it earlier, it is an ab cut, pretty straightforward, kind of good range going down. At least there's a ball joint below, so you can use that as well to expand the range. Going backward, goes back pretty far. Use the waist twist. Okay, I usually don't like drop down hinges because they end up getting loose over time, but this one has got a lot of retention, so that's fine. It gives him a good range going to the side, and also a good range going forward. So you can do essentially full split. I believe there's a double jointed knee, but you can't see it because of the pants. There's a trade-off there. Like I said, same concept. With the elbow, use the first joint first, in this case being the one at the top. Okay, try to apply pressure at the middle, at the actual knee, and then once it hits the limit, that's where you use the lower joint. So this is me forcing it. It has pretty decent range going back. Be careful again, just slowly put it back in position so that you don't end up tearing the material on the pants. Here's a joint down here at the ankle. See how far it goes, see the range. Goes forward really well, but pants get in the way, kind of recoils. It goes back really nice, and it stays there because the range ends where the pant begins. But moving forward, yeah, I guess you can just needs a bit of warming up so that it stays in position. So that is nice. But you're gonna end up creasing this part right here. But what are we gonna do? This is an action figure. It's supposed to be played with rather than just be kept inside the box. I mean, no disrespect to all those collectors who collect action figures and just keep them in the box. But to me, I buy action figures with the intent to play with them whenever I can. That's the only way I can justify purchasing them, to really make the most out of what I paid for, to really experience the full value of the figure. Fun factor for days. What are my final thoughts on this figure? I think it's bang for the buck. I paid 1,499 pesos on this guy, 1,499 Philippine pesos. If you're in the US, you're paying around 25 to 30 USD. Of course, supply and demand will always dictate the value of a commodity, but we're talking about this as is. He's a pretty recent release, so it's not hard to find him in stores, or wherever you are. As long as action figure collecting is a thing where you are, I think it hits all the marks as far as the sculpt, the paint details, the accessories. You get a lot of, it's not a lot of accessories, but what you get is a cool set of accessories. And I would say enough to go with Jin. The articulation is definitely up to par with, I would say, well, I wouldn't say up to par with JADA Toys, but close enough. It's a close enough contender to what JADA Toys is doing. Some gaps where they shouldn't be. I mean, gaps can be avoided, but they can be reduced to a significant degree. But to their credit, they made it so that, when posing it around, you can actually cover those gaps or cover them enough so that they won't look so obvious when you're taking photos of your figure. There's enough sculpt, a lot of sculpted details, articulation. Not exactly sure how accurate those pant details are, but with how cool this figure is, you can just easily look past some minor inaccuracies. Okay, so this is a good example of an awesome action figure, and the price is just right. I mentioned something earlier about, if you don't like an action figure because you don't feel satisfied with how much you paid for it, do whatever it takes so that you can make some of your money back. If you can't, return this to the seller, because most of the time we don't actually purchase these figures from the factory or the brand, the company that makes them. We're dealing with small businesses, retailers. So even if there is an option to return the figure, it might be a little too complicated, and the amount of time you will end up pouring into it might not justify all the losses you will incur in the process of doing so. So what was the point? I guess what I was saying is, when you're collecting action figures, you win some, you lose some. You gotta learn to cut your losses sometimes, so that you don't wallow in misery and you don't end up losing more because you become less productive, worrying so much about a figure that left so much to be desired. Alright, that's enough rambling. I'm gonna reserve some of my life lessons in future reviews. Bye, guys.